Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the 2022 Quick Lane Bowl matchup between the New Mexico State Aggies and the Bowling Green Falcons. Both teams have had good seasons getting to this point. Both teams got up to 6 wins and played pretty well down the stretch. Should make for a good matchup. We'll go over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Starting out with your team trends, New Mexico State beat Valparaiso 65-3 to finish out the regular season. New Mexico State is a 6-6 football team, and this is only the second bowl game that New Mexico State has been in since 1960. That was 62 years. This is only the second bowl game that the Aggies have been in 62 years. This is, you could say, a big occasion for New Mexico State, and this is a huge opportunity for them as well. I mean, to go 7-6, have a bowl win to finish out the season, and potentially this is a stepping stone into the future for New Mexico State. Only the first season for the head coach, Jerry Kill. So, I mean, future looks bright for New Mexico State right now, especially based on how they played down the stretch. But as for Bowling Green, this team lost to Ohio 14-38, kind of an ugly loss to finish out the regular season. But I mean, they did beat Toledo the week before that, 42-35. So, and Toledo obviously was the eventual MAC champion. So, yeah, Bowling Green, they've shown potential at times this season. They got up to 6 wins, and yeah, so both teams barely got into bowl contention, but in the end, you could say both teams are in similar situations. Bowling Green, it's they've been in more bowls in recent history than New Mexico State, but this is only their first bowl game since 2015. Games be on Monday, December 26th in Detroit, Michigan. Your kickoff is 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Spread's going with Bowling Green by 3.5 here. Your over-under is 48, and the FPI is also going with Bowling Green 51.9%. So the Falcons are favored by a pretty close margin here, which isn't too surprising. I think both teams are very much on an even playing field here. I mean, you could say Bowling Green maybe has played better against a stronger schedule, but then again, New Mexico State, how they've played down the stretch, this team has actually been pretty impressive, and they were pretty impressive in the last month of action or so. This is also the first matchup between Mexico State and Bowling Green in both teams' histories. Stat comparison for this one, New Mexico State 115th in points per game. They're 65th in points allowed. So defensively, they're not a bad team, but yeah, the offense hasn't been great this season. 115th in points per game. They're only averaging right around 25 points a game. They are, 124th in pass yards a game, 69th in rush yards. So the rushing game has been okay for New Mexico State, but the passing game not so much. And then for yards allowed, they're 20th in passing defense. This is actually a top 20 pass defense in the country, and they're 94th in rush yards allowed. So, yeah, the main strength is passing defense. Defensively, this team is all around not terrible, but the offensive side of the ball has been an issue for the Aggies. As for Bowling Green, they're 105th in points per game, 99th in points allowed, kind of even on both sides of the ball statistically. They're 57th in pass yards games, so a decently strong passing game here for the Falcons. They're 123rd in rush yards a game, and then for yards allowed, they're 96th in passing, 82nd in rushing. So the main strength, you could say, is the passing game for Bowling Green. So you kind of got an interesting matchup between more of a passing offense against a defense that is strong defending the pass. So it's an interesting matchup in that aspect. But I mean, you look at Bowling Green's quarterback situation. I mean, Mac McDonald's been the primary quarterback for this team. 2,600 yards, 22 touchdowns, 8 picks. Not terrible stats. I mean, he's performed fairly well this season. I mean, he's thrown 8 interceptions against 22 touchdowns, which is okay. It's nothing outstanding, but I mean, that does show potential. I mean, you look at the rushing game for both teams. I mean, Bowling Green hasn't had much success, but the primary back is Jason Patterson. The primary back for Mexico State has been Star Thomas, even though there's multiple running backs that have had an impact this season, including Diego Pavia, who is one of the main quarterback for this team. Recent matchups: Mexico State beat Valparaiso 65-3. They beat Liberty 49-14. That was a stunning loss for Liberty at the time. Liberty actually had a pretty good season. They got up to 8 wins. I mean, they started out the season 8-1. So for New Mexico State to go into Liberty and win in the fashion that they did was very impressive. They lost to Missouri 14-45, beat Lamar 51-14, beat UMass 23-13. So this team won. They actually won 5 of their last 6. I mean, so that's pretty impressive. This team was 1-5 heading into the middle parts of October. It looked as if it was going to be like any other season for New Mexico State, but this team played pretty well down the stretch. They, once again, won 5 of their last 6, and I mean, you look back to, week 1 when they played Minnesota on the road, got shut out 38-0, or lost to Wisconsin 66-7. Wasn't much hope for this team, but I mean, they beat Hawaii and then beat New Mexico, and yeah, they got some wins going from there. And they were supposed to play San Jose State, but that game actually got canceled, and so instead New Mexico State scheduled Valparaiso, which was an easy win. So for New Mexico State, it's a good opportunity for them because, I mean, San Jose State, not a bad football team, and if you would have played San Jose State, that's definitely not a guaranteed win. So a good opportunity for the Aggies here to get into bowl contention. But as for Bowling Green, they lost to Ohio 14-38. They beat Toledo 42-35. That was an impressive win, even though they allowed 35 points there. They lost to Kent State 6-40. That one was ugly. They beat Western Michigan 13-9. Also beat Central Michigan 34-18. Your key points for this one: New Mexico State 6-6. The Aggies have shown potential defensively. I mean, if you look at, except for the performances against Power 5 teams, if you look at all the other games, this team's actually performed pretty well. Offensively, they've played well down the stretch. That has definitely improved dramatically over the course of the season. This offense, I mean, they couldn't get above 15 points in the earlier parts of the season, but now you see this team scoring 49 on Liberty and 51 and 65. So, I mean, they have improved in that aspect. And once again, this is the second bowl appearance in 62 seasons. I couldn't believe that when I was looking up their bowl records. I mean, they played a bowl game in 2017. That was the Arizona Bowl. They got up to 6 wins in the regular season that year. They won the Arizona Bowl. So, I mean, yeah, that was a huge win. And that was only their first bowl game. In that 2017 bowl game, that was only their first one since 1960. I couldn't believe that when I first found that out. But yeah, this is the second bowl game for them in pretty much 62 seasons. So a good opportunity for them. And as for Bowling Green, got a talented quarterback in Matt McDonald. Defensively, they've been poor down the stretch. That's something that New Mexico State needs to take advantage of. But Bowling Green, they do have one of the more talented players on the field here in Matt McDonald. So that's going to be, something to keep in mind. And defensively, I mean, if they can have a strong game defensively and shut down this New Mexico State offense, I think they've got a good chance. I mean, because it's going to be tough for New Mexico State to score a whole lot of points. So, I mean, yeah, shutting them down is going to be crucial. But yeah, first bowl appearance for Bowling Green since 2015. That's obviously a big deal for them as well, even though they've been to plenty of bowl games in recent history. It's just they had a bit of a drought here since 2015. But that said, let's get to the prediction here for New Mexico State and Bowling Green coming up here in the Quick Lane Bowl. I'll be going with New Mexico State here, 31-27, my predicted final score. I'm going to be taking the upset here. I think the Aggies, I mean, it's a tough one to predict. You got two teams that they got some talent. They played well down the stretch, but I especially like the improvement of New Mexico State down the stretch. They started the season 1-5, finished out 6-6, won 5 of their last 6, and played generally well. We saw that Liberty game. They actually looked pretty good. So New Mexico State, I like this team in this matchup, 31-27. I like the matchup as well, if you're looking at both teams statistically. But yeah, for Bowling Green, very much able to win this game. There's a reason why they're the favorite according to the spread, but I think New Mexico State, I like the momentum of the Aggies, and they get the win in the end, 31-27. Probability 55% towards the Aggies. Over-unders 44. I'll be taking the over, and New Mexico State's favorite to cover the spread in the end. But let me know your thoughts and comments below on this matchup, and I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.